All right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Crystal Grizzle. I am the event marketing specialist here at Atlas School Tulsa, and I thank you guys all for coming this evening, especially everyone on stage. We really appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to be moderating this evening. I also am a nervous, antsy person, so I may stand and I might sit. Please be patient with me. As we begin, I wanted to let you know that there's going to be a short period of questions and answers at the end. However, we're trying something new this evening. You'll see at the top of the slides, as we go through here, if you go to that website, you should be able to submit questions as well as upvote other people's questions. So if it's something that someone's already asked and you're like, oh, me too, just go ahead and pop a thumbs up on that. I appreciate you guys all holding questions till the end. So this evening we are going to be discussing what Theta is, the Tulsa Hub for Equitable and Trustworthy Autonomy, what that means for Tulsa, how we received this designation, and what does the technology landscape look like in Tulsa over the next decade. So topics are going to be, what is the Tech Hub designation? What does talent development, attraction, and retention look like for us over the next 10 years? What our challenges and opportunities are going to be, and what that long-term vision and strategy is from the people who are putting these things into place. Tonight, our panelists are Justin Kitts, Wade Dunn, Isaac Green, and Aaron Smith. And I would like for each of you guys, if you don't mind, give a quick little summary of what you do and what expertise you're bringing to this panel, please.
Great. I'm Justin Kitts. I'm Director of Public Affairs at Tulsa Innovation Labs, Tulsa native and proud TPS graduate. I am fortunate to be here, and Crystal, thank you so much for inviting me, and also the organization. It's a pleasure to be here. I actually led the Tech Hub proposal process on behalf of TIL and our consortium, and was fortunate to work with a lot of my team members and a lot of partners from across the city to bring that to fruition. So excited to talk about it more this evening.
Thank you so much. Mr. Dunn.
All right. Hello, I'm Wade Dunn. I'm the Senior Talent Consultant at Williams. I currently hire for our whole tech part of our company nationwide. Have years of experience working with big tech companies across the country. So I'm excited about what's happening in Tulsa because I was in Atlanta before the big tech boom happened, and I see that we're ripe for it. So I'm excited about talking about what it looks like for our future.
Fantastic. Hello, my name is Isaac. I am a data scientist at Medify Health here in Tulsa. What I bring to the stage is that I am an Atlas grad, and also I have been a job seeker twice recently in the Tulsa Tech Hub. So I kind of bring that student and data science experience, but also as someone who's been seeking jobs recently as well.
And my name is Aaron Smith. I am the employer development rep here at Atlas School, also Tulsa native, also TPS graduate. And I work alongside our companies here, getting them introduced to our students and really working alongside them and helping with their hiring needs. So happy to be here.
Can we get a hand for all of the public school graduates? I love it. All right, so we're going to jump right in to what is the Tech Hub designation. And we're going to start with Justin, and it's going to seem like I'm picking on him because he's probably the foremost person in this room who knows the most about it. Although I will say I've done a lot of deep diving on it this week. My gosh, you guys, there's so much to know. Justin, so we're going to start with you. How did the designation come about, and what does that mean for Tulsa? And can you really break down for us into layman's terms what this Theta acronym means for us?
Yes, absolutely. So the Tech Hub is a program of the U.S. Department of Commerce, specifically the Economic Development Administration. It was included in the CHIPS and Science Act that was passed nearly 2 years ago. That's where you're seeing a lot of the semiconductor investments that have made a lot of headlines. Think of this program in very similar terms. How does the federal government invest its dollars in regions to stimulate U.S. competitiveness? And let me just say, it's a really big deal for Tulsa, not only to get the designation, but also to receive $51 million in implementation funding. As we like to say, no other region got more funding than we did. There are a couple others that got $51 million, so we can't say we got the most per se, but we were tied for the most. And it's a huge validation, I think, of what Wade touched on a little bit in his introduction of where our city is headed. EDA was instructed to give these designations and implementation funding to regions that they felt had the capacity and resources to become globally competitive in approximately 10 years. So it really shifts the conversation in how we think about ourselves from, how do we compete with Oklahoma City or Kansas City to how do we compete on a global scale. So I'm really excited about the ambition that brings to our community. Really what we're trying to do through Tulsas Tech Hub is become the best place to develop, test, and manufacture autonomous systems such as drones. We have a unique set of assets and partners here, specifically able to marry expertise in the development of autonomous systems like drones. OSU has one of the best drone programs in the country, with the cybersecurity expertise at the University of Tulsa. So really focused on that intersection of cybersecurity and drones. But more importantly, more broadly, this opportunity is really about creating good jobs for every member of our community. We think the Tech Hub investment from EDA could bring tens of thousands of jobs to our community over the next 10 years. We hope or are working towards at least half of those jobs being accessible to those without college degrees, and we think those jobs will also be at least $7,000 more in average wages than the current regional average. So it's a tremendous opportunity to think about our future as a community, our future economy, and really work to expand opportunity for all.
Fantastic. That sounds incredible. Thousands of jobs coming right at us, right down the pipeline. And also, did you notice it wasn't for Oklahoma? It was for Tulsa, right? Yeah. So fantastic. I'm going to kind of combine a couple of questions that I have here for you, specifically about the 6 key focus areas that Theta is addressing, and how that funding, that $51 million of support, is going to help you accomplish those focuses.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 6 funded projects that $51 million will go to. First, it's really focused on expanding collaboration amongst those universities that I mentioned, and accelerating the ability of researchers in our region, not just at the universities, but startups and industry as well, into the marketplace. So how do we come up with cutting edge technologies, and how do we get it to market faster? The second is we want to create world-class testing environments here. Really, we want to be a place that has globally unique testing facilities. We already have the start of this in the Skyway Range, which is the nation's longest beyond visual line of sight testing corridor for drones. So where you can test drones where you can't see them, which is currently not allowed actually by the FAA. We're going to add cyber components to that to really become the best place for researchers and companies to come and test. We really think that Tulsa, drawing on its significant aerospace manufacturing legacy, has the opportunity to become the place that drones and critical components are made domestically. Right now, the U.S. is nearly solely reliant on foreign manufacturers for drones and the components, not just China, but Korea, Japan, Taiwan, a lot of regions that would be under threat in any sort of geopolitical conflict. And we think we have the expertise here to become the domestic hub for manufacturing those systems. we're working with Torrance, Billingsley, and Black Tech Street to create AI Center of Excellence in historic Greenwood, focused on how do you involve historically underserved communities in the development of these technologies, and really making sure we're reaching out beyond the historical folks that have been involved in these technologies and opportunities. And we're creating a suite of workforce programs, including partnering with Atlas School on how do we get talent into the industry faster. Like I mentioned, really focused on what do these non-degree pathways look like? How can we get students on the job training like internships and apprenticeships, so they're coming to industry, coming to our partners like Williams, ready for the challenges that the industry face. If you're keeping score at home, there's also a sixth focus area, but that's really more about, how do we govern this work? How do we bring together the 75 plus partners that signed on to the Tech Hub opportunity and really think strategically about how this grows over time?
Fantastic. This question is more broadly to the rest of the stage. So when people hear the word autonomous, our brains often just go straight to drones and self-driving cars. But what are some areas that autonomous technologies will impact that we may not know about or see as an obvious answer?
That's a great question. I'm thinking myself, because anything autonomous is something that's moving automatically, right? It doesn't require human interaction. And I think there's so many technologies when you're talking about just AI, with generative AI, kicking up now. I think there's so many things that we can't even think about that autonomous will take over or be a part of to help us really manage things. If you have the ability to create something that takes away a task that is time consuming, that can automatically do it for you, and if a tool comes out that allows you to do it, that doesn't cost you much, or if anything, would you choose to use it? That's the power of autonomous. That's the power of what autonomous is. It could be something we're talking about right now with drones and vehicles, but we could be one thought away, and that's why I'm excited about what we're doing here in Tulsa, because we collaborate a lot, right? You could be one thought away from someone coming out with something that's life-changing that comes out of Tulsa that is autonomous. And anything autonomous needs to have people to clean data, to read data, to teach it, right? So when I think of autonomous, I'm not afraid of it. I'm excited by it because I feel like I'll have more time to do what I want when it's autonomous. But I think there's a lot of things that we don't even know right now to think of that autonomy can fix or help. That's just in my opinion.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like, from what we're hearing from Justin, there's going to be all of the manufacturing and testing facilities to support those fantastic ideas from the ground up, which is very, very exciting. I'm going to scoot over into the next topic, which is talent development, attraction, and retention. And I'm going to come to you, Aaron, and ask, what are you hearing from employers in Tulsa about their needs as far as education outcomes from our graduates right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a large portion of my role here at Atlas is working essentially as a liaison between our campus partners in our education teams, all of our staff members here at Atlas, and really having those meaningful conversations with them and learning about what they need in terms of hiring and whether our students are meeting those goals. If not, working with our teams here to make sure that those needs are met. So there's kind of different base levels in terms of what their needs are. First and foremost is they want them to be technically proficient. Obviously, that's a very obvious answer. Coming from a software development school here, they want our students to be really strong coders and software developers, but not just on basic level programming languages, but being pretty broad and being industry aligned to what the industries here in Tulsa. So oil and gas, energy, manufacturing, aerospace, airlines, they want those students to be proficient in those programming languages that meet those needs. And others are more kind of soft skills. They are expecting students to be great communicators. They want them to not communicate with just their team members, but cross-collaborate and communicate well with different teams. They also want software developers that aren't afraid to, be in the workplace, aren't afraid to communicate with others and not essentially lock themselves in the basement and code, which is great, but we're seeing more and more of those employers wanting those more extroverted, if you want, individuals. And they also want problem solvers. They want people to come in, work right away. They want them to be adaptable, not just with change, but able to adapt to new languages as technology evolves over time. And then also the last one would be just being workforce ready from day one. They look for individuals that can come in, not having a huge learning curve, and if they do, have the ability to learn on the fly. So those are some of the, obviously, when you think of a candidate that's like the ultimate unicorn candidate, obviously that's not going to be the case for anybody, but we do the best we can here at Atlas of fulfilling those needs. Obviously every company's different in what they want, but these are just kind of the trends that we are hearing over time from various different industries here in the city.
And so you touched on it just a little bit there, but can you tell me how Atlas is looking to support students and job seekers as this tech landscape evolves, what we're going to see over the next couple of years as far as our supports and wraparound service?
Yeah, well, our teams here do such a great job of having a very innovative and proactive approach. Obviously, a huge reason why we are now Atlas is now we have the ability to create a curriculum that aligns with industry here in town. So our education team has done a wonderful job of working alongside industry leaders, whether that's through conversations with, leadership here in Tulsa, or we also have an advisory board that's made up of industry leaders, whether it's technical folks or HR folks, to make sure that what we're teaching to our students correctly align to what their needs are. And we can we kind of go back to the adaptability part, right? So as technology evolves over time, we have the ability to adapt, switch out languages, switch out curriculum that best suits what we're seeing 5 years down the road. We also have teams that are completely supported for students. So we have 2 designated teams here that work with students on more of the soft skills and career development aspect of it. One team that really works hard, we call our general education team, that works alongside students and preparing them to be career ready. It's actually built into the curriculum here, so they're not only going to be technically proficient, but they're also going to have what we talked about earlier, the soft skills and behavioral skills needed to be well-rounded individuals in the workplace, as well as a career services team, which is the team that I work with, that work alongside students on really working with them on what their wants and needs are and making sure that they're aligned with that. But we also have all of our technical instructors, everybody here, a majority of them are all industry folks. So they have a really good idea of what's to become here the next 5 years and work alongside those leadership and other entities to make sure that what we're providing to our students allows them to be work ready from day one, post-graduation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wade, kind of a less popular topic, but some corporate leaders don't really feel that upskilling their employees would be a good idea because it could help them find a lucrative career somewhere else. That's not a positive mindset. And do you see that mindset might be changing? And is there anything that can be done to encourage skills development for individuals already in the workforce?
That was a tough question.
I said it was not popular.
I got easy questions. I get the hard one. Wait, what do you think about this? No, okay. Now I'm playing. I think it's a very, very valid question. When you have a culture that works, right, and it's been working for so long, and then externally something changes, and it changes faster than the culture can change. Right. It's a real question of how do we make that change, because it's a risk. Anytime you have companies that have been established and they have a certain culture that works for how they do business, it's not just a thought of locally, right? It's also their connections externally. So I think it's a very valid question. The mindset is changing, because the way you change mindset internally is through external interactions, right? If you are really interested as far as staying ahead of the curve, You have to stay connected externally. When we bring in external people, it helps change culture. When we do things like partnering with Atlas and getting exposure to the students coming out of Atlas, it changes culture. I think that upskilling for me, just personally, I've always believed in upskilling. In any seat I sit in, if I'm managing a team, if it's myself, I believe in upskilling. I believe that if you have a group that's agile, you are positioned to win no matter what happens externally, because you can have a person that, I always say this, like we used to have like data entry. Remember that role back in the day, data entry? Everyone wanted to be a data entry, push the buttons and put it in. So if a team member or a leader didn't think about, let me make them agile, let me get them access to other things to develop them, where's that team now? Where are those people right now? The fear I have, but the hope I have in Tulsa is this. The fear I have is that we are not exposing this to as many people as we need to. The fear is that if we don't do that, what happens is by the time someone sees someone else coming in from another state taking that job, it's too late. Because at that moment, when we have sessions like this and we talk, and we have a YouTube link, right? Yeah. YouTube link, y'all send it to your friends. My fear is that by the time us realize these jobs are here, they're already gone. As a person that works in talent, by the time the posting happens and it's external, it's already been moving internally. It's already been moving internally. There's conversations already happened. People may know that it's coming. When you find out about it externally, it's already been moving internally. So by the time it hits the external part, you almost, I don't want to say you're behind the eight ball, you're not, but if you're not in a position to take advantage of it when it posts, right? Think about that. If you got to take time to get your stuff together and all that. Let's say a job post that says we need a degree, right? I don't have a degree. I'm 4 years behind already. So I think it is changing. I think internally, especially at Williams, we have a strong, most companies do this too, they have a really strong internal opportunity to upskill. A lot of companies in Tulsa, including Williams, we have the tuition reimbursement program, we have LinkedIn Learning, we have a library internally that has so many different things that you can just choose to learn, because I think they understand the cost of hiring a new person is more than training a person I have right here that's sitting in my building right now. So I think that's why I'm excited about this tech hub. I think it really helps the conversation internally of saying, hey, we need to get ready because competition's coming.
Okay, so you've talked to a lot of what I was going to ask you anyway, but I do want to ask you specifically, what new skills and qualifications do you think are going to be in demand in the tech industry over the next decade?
So I go back to what I said earlier about being autonomous, right? You still need people to clean the data. You still need people to analyze the information to make sure it's accurate, right? So I think data analytics is going to be a big one. Mm-hmm. I just think and that for me, that's going to be real big that I think people may be overlooking. I know when it comes to like just developers, you'll need those, but if you have all this data, like data overload, where we're talking about building this autonomous drone, they have to test, and then when they test, they have to have data that they read to understand what's working, what's not working, how did it respond. Someone has to do that. I think that's going to be the biggest one. I think for me, that people really should focus on is the data analytics. I think from the outside of that, there'll be for every company will have professional roles. So don't feel like, hey, they're talking tech. That's not me. I'm in HR or I'm this, right? No, every company that comes here is going to have a professional role that's attached to that tech person. That person has to be paid. That person has to have certain things that in your space, if you're not in the tech space, a non-tech professional, it's going to be jobs that'll be created for you too. So don't think that the 55,000 jobs that's being created in tech are all going to be tech people, right? So you're not getting left out. Don't think it's not about me. You're not getting left out. But if you do want to take advantage of what's coming, there are some schools like this. Atlas School has some really great programs, and there's other programs that can help you get upskilled. He said earlier, if you heard what he said, some will be degreed, some will not be degreed. Meaning you can step into a role, financially increase your household just by going through a program like Atlas or these certifications, being qualified, and then having some type of experience where you can walk into a place like Williams and say, hey, I have the certification, I have the experience, can I get a job? And we'll say, yes, come on in. So
Yeah.
that's what I have there.
Data analytics, is that like data science, Mr. Green?
I was pretty excited to hear you say that. As someone who does data analytics professionally, I'm like, yes.
I was like, data scientist,
I
that
was
sounds
very
familiar.
excited, yes.
So I'm going to move to you, Isaac. As someone who has experience on both sides, as an instructor and as a student, how have you seen education evolving as new technologies are emerging?
I was super excited to see this question. I used to be a math teacher, a freshman math teacher in high school. Let's maybe take a step back in terms of how quickly tech is moving forward. When I was a student here 2.5 years ago, ChatGPT had not caught on yet. So if you think and you go back 2.5 years and you think about where you were, everything you know about AI and large language models is likely within that amount of time. And as tech tends to, it's only going to move faster. So we live in a very quickly evolving, very quickly moving ecosystem in the tech world, right? I'll try to speak to this from both sides. I could talk about this forever, but I won't. From the teacher's perspective, you see something like large language models that can, with a little bit of prompting, generate a whole resume or a whole essay or answer math questions or something like that. And you say, oh, that's really bad. We need to keep students from using that because they're going to cheat. I don't think that that's the answer. And this actually kind of translates to my experience as well. In the tech world, what we need to shift from is, instead of like, oh, well, I know this thing and I know this thing, it needs to shift to, I can learn that, or I can learn that, or I've used this tool before, but maybe I'm not attached to that. For example, maybe somebody knows the programming language C. It's like, great, awesome. Maybe this company doesn't use that. Maybe you'll have to learn something else. So I found that as a person in the tech ecosystem, we have to learn to pick up new tools and change as tech changes, just to stay relevant, right? And that empowers you to do all kinds of amazing and wonderful things. Yes, so that was from the teacher side. From the student side, I actually would give the opposite advice. It's very tempting if ChatGPT or something like that can just give you the answer to a question. You just go, oh, okay, that's the answer, great. And you plug it in and you move on. That's not the way to learn how to think, right? One of the important ways to become a learner, or to become someone who can learn things quickly, is not to just take what answer you're given, is to kind of like break it down and like decipher it and be like, why? Or what does this mean? Or that kind of thing. So from that student perspective, yes, use these tools to help you, to aid you, but don't just be like, oh, that's it, that's done, that's all, moving on.
Thank you so much. You did say you've done a couple of job searches recently as an entry-level software engineer. Can you tell us about any challenges that you've navigated, new topics, new technologies, and how that's played into your new position?
Yes. So let's see. There are a couple. Let's start here. So I mentioned that with large language models, you can say like, hey, write a resume for this job. And it goes, whoop, and it gets a mostly accurate, mostly good resume. Sometimes it'll hallucinate and come up with something in there that's not supposed to be in there. If you are on a platform like LinkedIn or Indeed or something like that, where your resume is what you're sending to people, suddenly that becomes very cheap, right? And thousands or tens of thousands of people can apply for that many jobs as well, right? As someone who's looking for a job, even if you spend the time to write a really, really good resume, and you're competing against tens of thousands of other people who didn't, but they also applied to tens of thousands of other jobs, that doesn't work. So especially for, in my experience, a place like here, like Tulsa, it's becoming, almost ironically, even more about networking and in-person and face-to-face. Both of the jobs that I got were because of networking, not because of LinkedIn posts or anything like that. Those are important, and those kind of establish like a profile for you for people to go and look for. But it's all been networking and social and shaking hands and talking with people and being like, oh, I did a project like that. So yeah.
Great, thank you guys. So I'm going to jump down to this little ditty. So we're not the only tech hub in the U.S. I'd like to hear what's being done to retain talent here in the Tulsa area and to achieve the level of growth in that technical workforce. What percentage is going to be training individuals and what percentage is going to be bringing people from other areas?
I feel like I should answer that question because I do this every day, right? Let's start with the last question, training versus bringing in. So from a cost perspective, it is cheaper to train someone, especially internally, than to compete in the what they call the open market, right? I think for us, I think that training part is going to be very important. I think we have to make sure that we are training people because if not, we are going external. There is a balance though, because you will need some external. What you don't want to do is have the same mind in the room. So you will have to bring in external talent because external talent can start, bringing things that we don't know about in this environment to us, right? And you also want to be able to send out talent. Like we don't. Sometimes you don't want all the talent to sit here, because if you have too much talent in one space, it could be really good talent, but it's not growing. So we also want to send out. So you want to create that exchange, a good, healthy exchange where you're bringing in talent to help cultivate your local talent. You're sending out talent to help cultivate external talent, but also you want to train who you have, because that will be, at the end of the day, the most cost-effective thing to do. And then you pair that new person, say, I don't know if they do this at your job, but what I would like to do is pair someone coming in as a junior with that mentor as a senior, right? Because you want to start creating benches. That's how you also retain talent. When you bring in somebody that is external, one, there's a risk, because they move once, they'll move again. If you are having someone that you bring in that's local, and you can upskill them, you pair them with a mentor, development. One thing people don't realize is this. There's a study that shows that, I think it's a crazy, I want to say maybe 70 to 80% of people, if they are not upskilled, developed in their first year of joining a company, they'll leave. That's a big cost. People want to be upskilled. People think about where you are right now. You are probably there, or if a company comes along and say to you that we are going to train you, we see you have skills, we'll help you get to that next level. That creates loyalty for you, because now if another company comes along, you're like, I don't know if I want to leave. They already invested into me. So I think you have to have that balance of all that for it to work.
Well, and you really need both, as Wade's saying. Don't get it wrong. Tech Hubs is fundamentally about investing in Tulsans and investing in Tulsan talent, investing in Tulsan companies. But if we're as successful as we think we're going to be, we're also going to create a magnet here in our region for people and companies to come to, and that's a good thing. And I think if we're successful, we need to be making sure that we do that growth in a smart way. You're seeing lots of other places across the country that growth is not being done in a smart way, and so we're fortunate to have. We're fortunate, maybe those communities aren't, that we can learn from their efforts and their playbook. And I think it's also never too early for us to start thinking about success and what success looks like. What do we need 10 years down the line, 25 years down the line? What does the Tulsa of 2050 look like if we're successful? How do we develop a community that people want to stay in and live in and raise their families? And so Tech Hubs is about investing in Tulsans, but if we're successful, it's really going to be about both.
I like that. I like being a magnet.
Can I interject one more thing? Because there's a really good point. One thing I don't know if we mentioned, we have to make sure, in order to keep what we have in Tulsa right now, we have to make sure we are upskilling the people here. Because what happens is we don't upskill the people and we bring in people to take these jobs. The like you said earlier, I forgot who said it, $7,000, I think it was your $7,000 difference in the income. Those are new jobs. So if you have people that are local or not being upskilled, that creates that wealth gap. And when you have the wealth gap, the byproduct of that is crime, is drugs, things that make it not well for you to live here. That's what these other places that had this tech blow up, the money went up. people came in and they was able to live at this level, but then the people that was there weren't upskilled, and then it created desperation, and now it's not a great place to enjoy. They have the money, but they also have other problems too.
If I can do a plug, since it's come up a couple
100%,
times
100%.
now. Wade brought up upskilling. Aaron was talking about talent ready on day one for industry. Our partnership with Atlas School in Tech Hubs is an employer-led upskilling program, hoping to bring autonomous system companies and tech companies in the region to partner with Atlas to upskill their current employees. So I just had to get that plug in since it's come up several times, and Atlas School is such a gracious host today.
Thank you so much. And if you didn't notice, those questions were leading you right into that statement there. So thumbs up. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. So one more thing on this topic before we move on, and it's that we've been called out as a tech hub for autonomous technologies, but that's not the only thing. Those super hyper technical data science, data analytics careers are not going to be the only careers. What other sectors that are complementary and support those technologies do you also see growth or anticipate growth in?
I can take the first stab at this one. For me, and when we think about the workforce, sometimes I hesitate to overcomplicate it. We talk a lot about the skills needed in mobility or drones or autonomous systems, but really we're talking about STEM skills and more STEM talent in our region. And there's lots of different ways to develop that talent, whether it's a degree, whether it's a program like Atlas or some of the other certificates. So really, I think if Tech Hubs is successful, it's going to have a lot of knock-on benefits and grow STEM jobs in our region across the board. The other area at TIL that we're seeing have a lot of success is energy, perhaps not unsurprisingly for our region. We have a program called Rose Rock Bridge that has partnered with our energy companies, including Williams, to really help them think about what are your innovation needs and how can we bring and build and attract energy startups to our region. So I think there's a lot of potential to sort of reimagine what our energy sector looks like in our community. And let's also let's also be clear, there's a lot of overlap between those as well. Take drones. Ton of interesting propulsion and power questions. How a lot of drones that you can buy today, or even the fancy ones that are being used by Tulsa Fire Department and partners like that, have like 30-minute battery lives. So that's probably not going to be commercially viable in the long term. And so there's a lot of potential for these the growth in these industries to complement and support each other.
And I'll tell you what, guys, that's what I love about Tulsa is that we are constantly reinvesting in ourselves. Our companies are constantly reinvesting in each other, and that just makes my life happy. So now we're going to jump over to the next topic, which is going to be challenges and opportunities. Anybody can jump in on these. So what do you perceive to be the biggest challenge that Tulsa might face as it starts this transformation into a tech hub?
I actually can take this, or I can start this, maybe. As I was applying for these jobs, something that I noticed that seemed to be a challenge is legacy companies resisting the kind of forward push, right? Tulsa is, with its background in oil and kind of these large legacy companies, I've spoken with a lot of them, and there's kind of this pushback, right? Like, oh, I have all this experience in computer vision and artificial intelligence and all of this, and the response is like, that's really interesting. That's very cool. We'll get around to it in a couple years. Like, oh, we've got these programs, we've got this forward movement with that, but we'll get around to it, and that will make this tech hub designation very short-lived. If that's the vibe, you know what I mean? That does seem to be a big challenge, but Tulsa Tech Hub, it seems like it's changing. It seems like we're moving forward, which is good.
That was good. I think, and I'll tell you that is true. It's true. I think, and that's why I said earlier about the culture, right? I think there's a space that if we, I'll say it like this, what you're saying is true. I think that we are evolving in that, and again, I think it goes back to what I said earlier about the extensions beyond like where we are of how it impacts that, right? I think we're moving in that direction. I think the biggest challenge, I think, as far as, and it kind of leads to what you're talking about, I think it is the mindset. I think if we can't convince people, not just companies, not just leaders in companies, but people, just the people that walk down the street right now, if we can't convince them why this matters to them, then we won't win. Everyone needs that what's in it for me. How does this benefit me? How can we paint a picture to show them how the Tech Hub ties into generational success? And if we can't do that, then they won't get on board. They'll look at something else as quick.
Yeah, and I think from an education standpoint, I think a challenge that we'll see is just ensuring that, education institutions, local government, industry folks in general stay aligned on, 5 years down the road, right? Making sure that when companies relocate here or we see new technologies evolve, that all those entities are aligned, basically on the same page, essentially. Because if one thing's out of sync, then we're not able to, as an institution of education, be able to provide those skills and knowledge needed to fulfill those needs. So as tech continuously evolves and as we bring in these new, exciting new opportunities, just making sure that all those entities align and are on the same page will be great, but it could also pose a big challenge down the road.
Thank you, guys. So, Justin, I'm going to jump on to a question for you that you very briefly touched on earlier. You guys have been fantastic. You've read through notes. Good job. But I wanted to discuss how Tech Hubs is going to address diversity and inclusion in the tech sector, and specifically what programs will be implemented to ensure equitable access to those tech careers that are coming.
Absolutely. Crystal, I'll start by saying, one of the main drivers, not only of our Tech Hub, but Tulsa Innovation Labs in general, is making sure we're expanding access and opportunity to the tech economy and to really good jobs across the board. Wade put it very well before that. We're not just talking about masters and PhDs or even bachelors here. There's hopefully going to be growth across different types of opportunities for Tulsans to access. So that's been one of the main drivers from the beginning of what we're trying to do with this opportunity. Within what has been funded in Tech Hubs itself, there are three main ways that I would touch on. First, working to make sure that our workforce programs are designed in a way that let those who may not be able to fall back and go to school full time for financial reasons or needing to support their family or have other barriers such as childcare, transportation, things like that those programs are accessible to individuals like that. Second, I did mention it, but we are working specifically with Black Tech Street to invest over $10 million into an advanced technology hub in historic Greenwood, really focused on helping Black Tech Street achieve their mission of reimagining what that community looks like in the technology age. And then third, several of our projects, both on the testing and the manufacturing side, are with our tribal partners, working with the Osage and Cherokee, really to think and leverage their assets. The Osage-owned Skyway 36 facility off 36th Street North, The Cherokees are a major federal manufacturer, actually, of autonomous systems, and so how can we bring those opportunities to tribal citizens as well?
I have a couple of quick questions. One to anyone, basically. In the recent years since pandemic, we have gone to a less geographically centered workforce. There's a lot of remote work, a lot of remote positions. A lot of tech work can be done remotely. But we still do see that a lot of corporate headquarters for tech industry are placed in Austin and San Francisco. They are very still geographically located. With this designation, do we expect that new and existing companies, tech companies, are going to probably relocate here? And how does that look? I told you it was going to look like I'm picking on Justin the whole night long.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think if we are successful, this is what we're going to see happen. And the goal there, again, is for Tulsa to be the magnet, to be sort of the beacon of, oh, you have to be in Tulsa if you want to be successful in this industry or in developing these technologies. And so I think it's really important, like I said, that we think about how we avoid some of the pitfalls of the places you mentioned in that growth. But ultimately, yes, we want to be the global leader, and we want to be the best place in the world for developing these technologies, because that's going to lead to those tens of thousands of new jobs that we hope that tech hubs can create.
Isaac, this is for you. As someone who's starting your tech career in a place that's not Silicon Valley, how do you feel that the tech community has supported you in your career and development so far?
Yes. Access to Atlas School has been very, very, very useful. They're super connected here in Tulsa, which has been a huge support with job hunting and being connected and kind of getting a pulse for what employers are looking for. Outside of that, the biggest support that I have felt is just getting in on the ground floor with things. So like, for example, I was in the 5th cohort at Atlas, like it was only in its 2nd year. So getting in on the ground floor there, even this company that I'm working at right now, I was one of the 2 hires that started the data science team there, the department there. And that is an opportunity that I don't think I would get to experience someplace else, like Chicago or San Francisco or Silicon Valley or one of those big tech cities as they are. So that being in on the ground floor is a really unique opportunity that I think Tulsa has allowed for me, which I'm very grateful for and very excited about.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to a long-term vision and strategy. These questions are going to be for anyone to answer. Just generally, what is your vision for the tech sector in Tulsa in the next 10 years? And if it sounds repetitive, I'm sorry, but maybe not, Justin. Maybe what do you think, Isaac?
This is actually something I think about a lot, I feel like the answer to this question for me was kind of birthed in being unemployed for a while. Tulsa is a big ball of potential, and I think we're just finally starting to realize that in the tech world. There are so many brilliant people that are being empowered here with all kinds of places and things like Black Tech Street and 36 Degrees North and Atlas. My vision for Tulsa in the next 10 years would be able to do the things, for me, selfishly, in artificial intelligence and machine learning that I would only be able to do at this moment someplace else, right? So if I wanted to do artificial intelligence research or something like that, I would have to move, right, to San Francisco or to Chicago or New York. My vision for Tulsa in the next 10 years is we take advantage of the talent, of the potential that we have now to become that. So that people who have that similar dream and who have that similar vision to do all of the amazing things can do it here and help the people here rather than go to San Francisco or wherever.
Fantastic.
Since you looked at me, I'll go and answer.
You look like you wanted to answer.
No, I think Tulsa in the next 10 years is going to look totally different than what it is right now. I think the skyline's going to look different. I think just, I was thinking about this just now, and it's funny because when you think about any Batman, think about Batman, right? You know the Batman movie? You notice the background's like an Art Deco city? You ever notice that? And I'm just thinking, like, I see Tulsa being that we have our history that we haven't lost, but we have technology brought on the streets and different things where there's a hybrid that we see where the legacy companies and the new companies create this great city where I don't think the other cities have the ability to have that. I think because we are strong in our legacy. but we are also open to embracing new. So I think in the next 10 years, it's going to be a beautiful hybrid of technology, but the history of what legacy built, because this is its own ecosystem because of the oil industry, oil and gas. And I think if the oil and gas can take that mindset and show the tech hub how to sustain and grow, but be rooted, it'll be a model for every city that didn't do it right to go back and do it this way.
Crystal, there was a question you're going to potentially ask around what I'm most excited for in tech hubs, and it's basically what these gentlemen just described is, the potential and belief. I hope that this leads Tulsans to feel in themselves, to feel in our community. Growing up in a lower middle class family, experienced housing insecurity and hunger, and coming home to shut off utilities and things like that. And it was, I think, through my public school teachers that I mentioned earlier and a tenacious mother that, I'm able to sit on this stage. It also, though, was why I left in 2009. These opportunities didn't seem possible in our community. I can only imagine what this room looked like in 2009. And so, I mean, a $90 million from the EDA in the last 2 years, one of 31 regions out of over 300 that received the designation, on par with places like Denver, Chicago, Philadelphia. I really hope that we can use this opportunity to reach the person on the street like Wade described, and really remind ourselves that Tulsa has done big things before, and I think we have an opportunity to do it again, and do it in a way that is rooted in who we are, is rooted in our communities, is rooted in making sure that we bring all along on the journey. And so that's what I'm most excited for. Yes, the projects are great. Yes, the projects are what's going to lead to the outcomes that we're hoping for, but I really hope people start dreaming and believing in Tulsa.
Again, Tulsa reinvesting in itself. It's a recurring theme that I adore. So we've been called the oil capital of the world. Recently, the capital of Route 66. And you guys have kind of mentioned that, taking that legacy and driving it forward. Is our next title capital of autonomous technology?
According to the mayor, he wants it to be drone capital of the world.
Oh, I don't like that as much. Sorry, GT. Anybody else? Do you have a better name for it?
I'm not that creative. No, I was looking at this question, and it kind of gives you an idea of how Tulsa has held many identities, from oil capital of the world to capital of Route 66. I think it just shows the potential to be the capital of autonomous technology, that it has the ability to have multiple identities, and it shows the ability for us to grow and evolve. So I'm excited about it. I think it definitely has the opportunity and the chance to be that way.
All right. So we are going to go to audience Q&A. I'm going to jump on here real quick and see if we had any questions come in. Oh, it looks like we might. Oh, great, guys. Can you read those? I just realized it's not big enough for me to read. Here, I'll come down. All right. Let's see. Is the Skyway Range already operable, and what has the interest been so far from national companies?
I'll take that one. The Skyway Range is already operational. That was another EDA investment, the Build Back Better Regional Challenge that we received in 2022. And just as a reminder to folks, Skyway Range is the testing corridor I mentioned earlier. It will be the longest in the nation when it's fully built out at 114 nautical miles point to point to point. I think 1,200 square miles between the different segments, and that's been developed in partnership with Oklahoma State University, Tulsa Innovation Labs, and the Osage Nation. And so really excited about the opportunities to draw companies from across the United States and hopefully across the world to our city. We've already seen WindShape, which is a Swiss company, locate their U.S. headquarters in Tulsa at the Skyway 36 facility, which is one of the nodes of the Skyway Range because of our capabilities from a testing perspective. They build basically indoor weather machines that allow testing and replication of drones in different weather conditions. And so really excited about the potential of that to be an attracting feature for companies in this industry to Tulsa.
All right, I got it pulled up on my phone this time. Look at me. Upskilling already. What incentives do you think would influence employers to invest in upskilling and reskilling?
I'll take this. So I think the incentive, the cost is always the number one incentive, right? It costs so much more to hire somebody when you have to fill a position. Also, I think competition. Competition, because when there's a lot, if there are more jobs than people to fill, then you have to figure out how can you take someone from over here and upskill them to fill in that role. Because if not, you'll either pay a premium for someone, but then when you pay that premium, there's a fear that they can be snatched away like you snatched them away. So I think those are the two things. I think a few incentives. I feel like the cost, keeping costs down, upskill, and then just not having the people. But I think to answer a question a different way, I want to answer it from not an employer's perspective, but your perspective. I believe that today it's so easy to learn more. YouTube University is free, right? You have Atlas School, you have different programs. If you're not in Tulsa and you're watching, you're not in Tulsa, there are so many opportunities online to upskill. I think you want to take the initiative to make sure you understand what is out there to upskill yourself. Because when you walk into a room and you say in your resume you did it, but now you have these skills, these certifications that back it up, and you have the experience, it may give you the leg up over someone else that doesn't have those certifications or didn't upskill, just kind of sat in a role. So I think it's not just employers that need to be influenced, but I think also we need to be influenced to continue to upskill ourselves.
Fantastic. I'm going to direct this one directly at you, Justin. What are you doing to get the average Tulsan aware of Tulsa Tech aspirations?
This is a really tricky one, and it's a really tricky one for two reasons. First, as I think we've talked about a little bit already this evening, this is essential. This is probably maybe the number one factor that's going to decide the success of these efforts. The second factor is, if I'm being honest, it's probably not where we've been the strongest thus far, and where I think we have more work to be done. Literally was talking about this with my colleagues at TIL in our office about this today, and in some ways, winning the grants was the easy part. It took a lot of work and it took a lot of nights and weekends from a lot of people to get this across the finish line. But we're really now on the hard part, and the hard part is, how do we implement these programs successfully? How do we go out and reach Tulsans or the average Tulsan and make them aware of these opportunities, make them excited about these opportunities? How do we find the person with the startup idea that has just been waiting for the right person to come along and support them? How do we build and create the jobs and attract the companies to our region? So this is a great question. It's incredibly important, and we got a long way to go, and would really welcome people's thoughts and opinions and partnerships on helping make this something that all Tulsans feel a part of.
Thank you so much. We have one final question that's been submitted, and then I'll open it up to anyone else in the audience. What would be the baseline demographic of the workforce we'd be looking to upskill?
So I think, this is my own thought, I think service industry is a great place to start. I believe in the service industry, you have a lot of people who have they have the skill. They have the skill because they're doing service, right? They have the motor skills. They have the ability to learn. They have the ability to be consistent, right? To have a foundation. I think if we look at the service industry, which can always they can always replace, right? The service industry, there's always an opening. But if we target the service industry and get those who may be in that industry that want to do more, right? This may be helping with the marketing here. If we go and target service industry, service career fairs, these different things, and say, hey, listen, there's an opportunity here to upskill. We have these programs at Atlas and these different things that help you get ready for this. The service industry can always recover. They can always recover because there's always somebody's going to walk through that door and say, can I have a job? And then out of that, you can kind of segment those who have the ability to go into the tech space, because even in the service industry, they're going to need tech people too, right? But I think if we target that right there, I think that'll work really well. We actually hired someone from the service industry into our program, and they went through a program to get certified, and they've been one of the best hires in that space. So I think the service industry for me is what I would recommend we target to get people into this tech hub place, and then let the service industry can recover. Trust me, they can.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have any questions before we go? Here we go.
Probably good without that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this is probably for Isaac and Justin. So I work for General Electric Healthcare, and we are devoting millions and millions of dollars to take unstructured data out of the equipment that we manufacture and those of our competitors. With the growth in healthcare, and Isaac, you probably see this every day. Do you see med tech having a place in this technology hub for device manufacturers, diagnostic imaging manufacturers, for testing algorithms and all of those things that we are building into the devices that we manufacture and sell? So just curious if med tech will have a spot in this tech hub going forward.
The last two startups that I worked for were both med tech, health tech. One was detecting falls in hospitals, like watching for patients as they fell. And now I'm working at a company that does insurance help. So using language models to help people with their insurance. Given that those were two startups that I worked at, given just the fact that those startups exist and that there are startups in that, would probably suggest that there's at least some interest there. AI specifically in terms of helping people, there's a lot of potential in health. Both of those would help people, right? Both of those companies I worked at. Absolutely, yes. I don't have numbers off the top of my head or statistics off the top of my head of 30% of new startups in AI are health tech, but there's absolutely a space for that. And just given my work experience, absolutely.
I'd echo Isaac. TIL was really founded on supporting four main industries in the Tulsa region. We've already talked about three of them: advanced mobility, energy, and cybersecurity. The fourth one was virtual health. We see opportunity to expand especially the digital and telehealth applications in our community, really closing the access gaps, not only that we see within our city, but between Tulsa and the rural areas that surround our community. The AI applications that Isaac mentioned, I think, are potential for the Microsoft lab that we're bringing as well. So yes, it's a fantastic question, and I would definitely love also to connect you to our health team at TIL to talk more about what we're doing there.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
So whenever I was looking at data, I was actually looking at it like, do you guys have any plans, not to put you on the spot, but do you have any plans maybe for subsidizing, let's say that an employer wants a master's degree, or they even have someone that comes out of this program and they're like, well, we need them to be really expert in it. And there's some great programs in Tulsa, but it's like $25,000 for a cybersecurity degree. And that's a lot of money to spend out. You can do the credits, you can do it by credit, but at the same time, I'm just looking at that like, it just seems like an opportunity to maybe subsidize
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we haven't had conversations about that specific topic, but we're always looking for good ideas on how we can expand this. There are two specific things that I think are related to your question. One, we are doing some programs within the Tech Hub that I mentioned earlier. They're not exactly that, but we are doing an upskilling and helping pay for an upskilling program here at Atlas, which will be focused on employers seeking to help their employees upskill and learn new tech-based skills. We're also doing on-the-job associates program with Tulsa Community College, so mixing hands-on applied learning with classroom time. We're doing an AI minor at the University of Tulsa for their students sort of across the university, not just business, not just engineering, but it could be political science, it could be comms, it could be any degree program, and then also helping expand through Tulsa Higher Ed Consortium across their 9 members, opportunities for on-the-job training like internships for students at those universities. The second thing, and maybe closer to answering your question, is we're also building what we're calling a workforce intermediary. If you pay attention at all to sort of the workforce landscape in Tulsa, you'll know there's a lot of people running in a lot of different directions. And so what we're hoping to do is increase coordination across the various participants in Tulsa's workforce ecosystem and industry as well. Basically, how can we better align the types of programming and educational opportunities that we offer with what industry needs? And so I bring that up to say I could see that being a form and process by which a program like you just described, or a need like you just described, sort of comes to the fore, and then we go out. This intermediary will go out in partnership with industry and with workforce training providers to build it and launch it and operationalize it.
Thank you so much. Anything else? All right, well, before we wrap it up, I'm going to highlight a few links for our panelists up here on the screen. First, we have hireatlasgrads.com, where businesses looking to hire entry-level software engineers can join, post jobs, view resumes and student profiles. Aaron is our employer development representative, and he'd be happy to talk to you about that after we conclude. Second, if you're looking for an even deeper dive on tech hubs and Theta, again, that stands for Tulsa Hub for Equitable and Trustworthy Autonomy. The second QR code will take you to that website for more information. Also, I went to the EDA website and read their narrative. You guys, it's so much. It's so much more than you can hear even in this 1 hour. And I would really encourage you guys to go out and read more. Finally, Wade would like for you to all join him on LinkedIn, where he does often post tech jobs for Williams Company before they go live to the job boards. He'll give you a day or two notice, which is a nice jump on the competition, which I anticipate is going to be ramping up with all of the significant investments in our tech economy. Thank you guys for joining us and sharing your vision for what the landscape is shaping up to become over the next decade. If anyone's interested in learning more about Atlas School's programs, I'm happy to speak with you, do a quick tour, or I can set you up with one of our admissions representatives for that at another time. But let's give a round of applause and thank our guests for joining us. And grab a cookie on the way out.